I am currently in a bog surrounded by moths and lily pads. And it's...
You know what's funny is I saw one of those today in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Little swamp thing, little fish and snakes and snails.
Like with smells and like touches and feels.
Yeah.
That sounds horrific.
It was pretty awesome.
Why would you go out there when you can come in here? Infinite possibilities in this reality. Like that chump reality we'll have to deal with.
I reject your reality and substitute theirs.
Oh, this is so great. It would be good I mean, there's like I know there's man, so much to talk about. I don't know how to get into any particular part about it. But yeah, it's just like a butterfly like right here. It's going down. There's like a toggle here that I can't reach because I don't have a controller. Yep. This is it. This is gonna be the episode this week. You can just watch me exist in another reality. Should we?
Let's get this Orwellian nightmare started.
Yeah, let's get it going. Don't make me come back. I'm just so happy here. Just gonna take it to local Starbucks, plug it in, and sign off. All right.
I hate to say it, but that's the thing. It's gonna start to be a thing. You're gonna be seeing people sitting with their laptops and like their Steam VR headsets on, just sitting there in a Starbucks, looking around.
That's what everything will be. I think everybody in the end, much like the Matrix, will just be in a Starbucks in a virtual reality headset. Yep. Big smile on their face, just looking at a swamp.
Yep. Then us
looking at a swamp.
This group of VR avoiding Luddites like myself, be skipping around and giving you all wet willies when you're not looking.
Which you'll think is just part of the experience.
Trevor, we'll be gods.
So immersive that it feels wet.
In the land of the blind, the one-eye man sees all.
Quoted.
Boom. Truth bomb.
So happy. Okay.
All sorts. Let's go for this. Let's do this.
Yeah. The adult beverages are poured. The kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. I've entered another reality. My name is Trevor, and I have a 1-year-old.
My name is Gavin, and I have a 1-year-old.
I'm Jeff. Trevor doesn't know what I'm doing with my hands right now, but I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old.
And it doesn't matter. Jeff, your meaty hands hold no sway in this reality that I'm in currently. I'm just among the flies and the reeds, having a fine time. So
the investment of $600+ for fireflies and
just sit amongst the reeds. It all worked out. Oh. Jump out of the Matrix there. So we got PSVR. It happened. There's the headset. Well, for audio listeners, it's a PSVR headset, as you one would assume. I'm going to turn it off because there's actually a game running, which probably means like my PlayStation's going to be running up a storm.
That's pretty sweet. I'm jealous.
Man, it is. It was unnervingly easy to get one, where it's like you almost wanted it to be very difficult to get your hands on one because it would show how popular it had been. But I kind of just like strolled up to a store and asked for it and got it. And it's like, hey, great, that was easy. Huh, wait a minute, that was easy. Oh, yeah. No.
That's actually happened to me in the past too with like certain items where it's like, you know, they're sold out everywhere. And I'm like, I just walked across the street and got one. It's not that big of a deal. Just went.
See, because they've been sold out when the pre-orders went. There's been 2 rounds of pre-orders. They went immediately. And then day of, like, you can order them online. People are trying to, I'm hoping scalpers got burnt. Like I call them scalpers. I'm not sure the right word, but just call them like flippers.
Yeah.
Like guys who had bought them in advance and was trying to sell them. So like I saw some going for like, $1,500 on eBay. Like I'll give you my day one pass. I'm hoping they all lost money. The curious thing about it, so I went to a Best Buy. They didn't have any of the kit. And that's like the full box. We have the Move controllers, the video camera, and the headset. They had an absolute ton of just the headset though. Ton of them. Like they had to be like a good 50 boxes behind their desk. But I mean, you need the camera.
Yeah.
At very least, right? And I don't know, do you, either of you gentlemen, just by survey, have the PlayStation camera?
No, I had the PS3 one, not the PS4 one.
Does the PS controllers from the PS3 work with the PS4 camera?
These are the same. I guarantee these are the same Move controllers. They still have the USB, like the fat USB charger, not even the nice.
Oh yeah.
So these are definitely the same Move controllers. I think it just had the camera. It had to have like the updated camera for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it went to the Best Buy. They didn't have it. I walked over to an EB Games. This was like an hour or so after it opened, and just like, "Hi, do you have this?" And like, "Yes." I'm like, "I will take one of those, please." And I said, and then just like that kind of like sinking feeling of like, "Oh God, is this not actually going to be very popular?" Have I just like? And on the way there, I had all these second thoughts because a journalist had very pointedly mentioned, just in one sentence, saying, I look in the corner and in there I have a heap of Move controllers and a Kinect sitting beside a Wii that's connected, but I don't really use anymore. Is this just destined to be the next catchy like peripheral that's going to like not be ever really supported? And it's just like,
the Wii was supported. It just had its lifespan.
Yeah, flash in the pan. Well, not.
Yeah, the Wii was
a couple of years.
Yeah, the Wii's of the three, like that's the worst to mention. In fact, the Kinect and the Move controllers were just sad Wii impersonators.
Guitar Hero, the drum sets, the guitars, all that stuff, man. I sold that stuff a long time ago for that very reason. It's just in the corner. So much plastic.
Our last move, I gave away. We still had a Rock Band guitar, and one of the guys who helped me move, I was like, "Here, buddy, take it."
You burned him with technology he didn't want.
No, he did. He wanted because he just maybe a couple years ago picked up a 360. So like he's been just burning through the catalog, so now we can do some of the music rhythm games, because like finding those peripherals now is a little hard.
Yeah,
because they've all just been garage saled out of market, so now kind of they're more of like an eBay item than something you can regularly find. So for him it was perfect, and it was great because I got rid of the thing.
Yeah. So. Man, yeah, that was a wild time. Just like if you wanted the kit, you had like the two guitars, the microphone, the drum kit.
Kit.
And just sitting people.
Here's a peripheral for you. Tony Hawk, the skateboard.
Oh God, don't even. No, I don't know anybody that has bought that. Thankfully, it was a horrible peripheral.
Anybody who bought one, they like threw it away in the night, so no one could see them. That was all the receipts. They went to like the store they bought it and like stole the CCTV tapes and burnt those. The shame level of that peripheral, like everybody erased all evidence of its existing. Like I think they're buried in a hole in the desert next to the ET game.
I hope so.
Yeah, when they're looking for the ET games, they found it and they're like, "Oh, they just put back the hole."
Buried underneath all these Tony Hawk skateboards.
Oh, poor Tony Hawk,
like
man.
Logical thing of like rejected game industry, sort of like swing and a miss, and it's like you go through. It's like the mantle, and then like the crust, and you just sort of work your way down.
Got a layer of like Virtual Boys, like throwing off like a bunch of radiation.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss mine.
Yeah. Upon saying it, I remember that you had those fond memories for Virtual Boy.
Yep. Well, and that's probably my only virtual reality experience compared to what you have going.
Yeah. Like,
That didn't last.
No.
so the
retinas can only take so much.
man, how to unpack this? So because I want to cover it quick. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things to talk of it, but setup is fine. I'll call it arduous. Like there's a lot of cables, of course, you got to unpack and everything, but straightforward. I mean, and they had this huge, massive book that came along with it, like step, take 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. So call it 10 to 15 minutes to set up, mostly just unwrapping all of it, but straightforward, and it worked immediately. Like it just worked fine. There was no issue. I only had one issue with one game so far where you're actually supposed to kind of stand up. My space isn't really set up for it. It's not really super big by any means, but there's only one game that I was trying to, it said, hey, reach down here. It was Job Simulator.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen videos for that? And so I reached down here to get coffee, and every time I did, I was just hitting like the physical couch, and I couldn't go low enough to get the coffee.
Just hitting your own coffee over? You're just like, oh, damn it. It's hot. Yeah. There's heat sensitive in here.
As a quick aside, that's an interesting thing, because generally when I'm playing games, like I do love to have a coffee or a beer or a whiskey on the go. Perfect. And I can't do that with this, because now you don't know where it is. Like, well, I mean, it'll fit under.
And I'm like, oh, sweet. Sit down. I'm going to have a nice glass of rye, and I'm going to play some Mortal Kombat. It's going to be great. And I thought, I'm like, wait, if this TV was strapped to my skull, I couldn't find my glass. And it's like my glass was precariously resting on the couch, because that's the only time I can take risks anymore. So I'm like, baby's asleep, wife's gone. Like, if this breaks, it's my own fault, but I have only myself to blame. But I'm like, I could not do this with VR because I would knock it down, just kind of fumbling around in the blindness for it. And
I think if you were smart about it, if you had like an actual just straight like chair, and beside that chair was a strap it. there was a side table you could just, and you know it was there. You put it between your feet. Like there's likely some ways to go about it, but it's not as obvious of just having something beside you. So anyways, the setup was clean. The experience is awesome. Like I think like in seeing it, it's much like seeing a movie theater where it's very clearly a screen. But if you compare that to your home TV, which is much higher definition and brighter in colors and such, but there's still that impact of seeing a huge screen, of seeing the movie screen where it's just like, oh wow, this is amazing. Yeah. And then when you get into the actual games, it doesn't particularly like matter. Yeah, they've done it. Like it's wild to be in these places, and it works so well for many of them. You saw the game of like the heist, where you just have this like mobster guy coming and just screaming at you, and then you're trying to grab this gun. You grab a gun, you're shooting things, and just immediately. But this and every other game, you're finding your natural intuition takes over. As far as like, I'm going to lean over here and see if I can see somebody. You have guys on bikes zooming up the side, and like just very naturally. There's no instructions on the screen besides like some minor like tips, but like without instruction, like I opened up the car door and I leaned out the side and I started shooting beside it as he's coming across.
You know what I relate that to is in the old days where you see the people playing Super Nintendo like Mario Kart, and they'd like lean with the controller to try and follow the car on screen.
Yeah, there's this one on rails shooter, bit of a horror thing, and you have to do some actual like physical movements for it, but that would lend well to it because you have these like beams flying towards you, and if you don't duck like this, if you don't, you actually just get hit. So it's great. One of the two other big ones before we find some other way to kind of talk around it, but to the bigger experiences, one of the greatest examples I think of what could be the future of it is I haven't seen a lot of talk about it online, bizarrely, but PlayStation included a game you can download, VR Worlds. Mm-hmm. Wait, no, that's one you can buy. This one's a VR Playroom. Sorry, it's a downloadable thing. It just features their little. I think you saw them initially with the Move controllers and the camera, where you had just like the little Eve from WALL-E looking guys running around. Yeah. So they produced a bunch of games for VR with that. A bunch of them are supposed to be co-op, so you have people like with Move controllers trying to throw things. You're a monster. There's one where they're describing things on screen to you who have a headset, much like Keep Talking, Nobody Dies, which we can discuss in a second. But this particular one is just a platformer. So it's just you, and you're kind of this floating head. You actually can see your body, and like your head move. The shadow moves with your head too, which is really amazing. That really helps to get you in there. And you're controlling this guy. Neat enough. Like that's really kind of cool. But one of the things that happens is, firstly, you're kind of looking around. They got some of the secrets. You kind of like peek over edges, and you can see down below over the cliff. There's actually a guy down there. You send your guy down. He goes. One of the things is with the controller, it becomes this Gatling hook, right? So you kind of, in most of these games, to help you with the immersion part, the exact way that you're holding and controlling your controller is exactly shown on screen. So you can see your controller, and if you tip it, it goes one-to-one. It's exact movements, just to help you feel like you're in it, right?
That's cool.
And you can see this thing, and then you shoot off this grappling hook, and it will connect to things in the level. And then you move your guy, and you move him across, and you have it. So you've now shot this thing in the level, and you're balancing him as he's going across this rope. One of the things is you can actually him up off of this rope to like get up and get coins. And then as you're running around with him, and then you see a hook over there, you shoot it up, you actually pull it down, which reveals a new area, and he goes into it. So as opposed to just, hey, look at this, like you can look in 360, which is a really kind of lazy way of doing it. Like that's kind of like the baseline. Like, fine, yeah, I'm in the reality virtually, but this one is where that you have this physical presence and you're interacting with those elements on screen. And this is like a 5-minute demo, but like just in playing that, you could just see if it had like a full Zelda style game,
yeah,
with these type of elements. And there's one that they're releasing, Downward Sky, or some to that regard.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Is it Wayward?
Yeah, Wayward Sky, yeah.
Wayward
And
Sky.
they got a bunch of that. So it's platforming, you're hitting things and it's going off, but you just really feel it. Like it's that was stupendous. I couldn't believe it. Like just when you shot this thing out and you're in the space and you're throwing it out and guys are running around it. Like, man, if they can connect you to some of the events in some of the games, if you think back to some gaming experiences you've had, and you're able to suddenly kind of just be in, like, really manipulating that space much more than just the controller, then that could be something. Now, so I'm trying to talk fast. I just want to get through the baseline, then kind of either go with questions or just we can talk. I'd like to talk generally about it because I'm curious to know what you guys like think about it.
No, you're taking a Q&A. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So guys,
I will allow you.
I have it. You don't, suckers.
That's the future of virtual reality right there.
Yeah. I'm trying to, like, I just want to encapsulate it because when I'm hearing people talk about it online, they just, it feels like they almost want to be harsh on it, or they want to go against it, or they're talking about specific tech parts of it as opposed to feelings and emotions and like how they're doing really well to evoke it. Now, do you guys like horror games?
No.
Yeah. I play them a lot.
Oh, okay. So Kevin, you just so would have to. This might be the greatest.
The kitchen, right?
Feature.
Not
that one. No, not
the kitchen.
Oh shit. I played it, and I could talk to that too. But there's another one here. Here They Lie. Okay. That had to be one of the. That experience was so phenomenal. I hate horror games generally. And I don't think I'm not sure I'll buy this one because I just really don't like these things. But you're going through. They've solved the movement thing. There's always going to be a bit of a disconnect between you and moving your character in line because you are an avatar, so you're seeing first person. But they've made it. It feels like you're walking in a dream, where you definitely have control, but you have not complete control. Like you're limited, but that's perfect because it makes it terrifying because you know you can't move quick. And
with all the pig masks.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at screenshots of it now. It looks very interesting.
And that undersells it though, because that's kind of what Resident Evil did. And it's like, hey, aren't we gross and crazy? Like, blah, it's amazing. And what's the real amazing thing is that they've done a great job for the ambiance. The sound design is just over the moon, unbelievable. Like you're very much in the space, right? And there's some moments like you walk on glass and you can just hear it crink. It's stupendous, unbelievable. You feel great. It feels exactly like a dream. They've just nailed that motion. And you're walking down, and they just take, at one point, they just take all of the walls, and they just absolutely they shift everything, right? Everything just moves around and scores in and out. I would call that almost a movie trope, right? Where you're walking in the haunted house, and all the walls just kind of move around. Except that's always been presented to you on a flat screen, right? This is happening in front of your eyes. This is in real, quote unquote, real life happening right there. It is bizarre to see something that you expect to be solid just start to shift around in such a way. Like, it's stunning. Like, it was just so mesmerizing. Like, it was just blew my mind for that regard. And then it just otherwise really great senses of dread as you're walking through. Like it, well, I mean, the one, like I hate it. And I hate jump scares. And I was just trying to keep grinding. Like I was tapping my feet to remind myself, like, look, all right, stay here. Cause they're going to try to jump scare you. So just like remain calm. And I go in this one room and I close the door, or I open the door. I walk through the room and I close it. And as soon as I do, you hear kind of like pig noises behind you. This space behind you in VR is terrifying, by the way. I'm pointing behind my head. This is all very scary because you can't get back there very quickly, but you hear it perfectly and you know it's there. If you were to turn around, it's terrifying. Okay. Because so like I get through this room and all I hear is like the pig noise and everything, and he starts like, you hear him scuffling like right up beside you. And by the time I look around, he's already like killed me, and it's away it goes. The second greatest horror experience, and again, this is a horror trope, except you've never experienced it in real life, quote unquote real life, where it's on Rush of. So,
you're with us, buddy.
Yeah, no, he's gone. That's it.
It's so real. This is a Rush of Blood. It's a on rails shooter, and like literally, you're literally on rails on a roller coaster as you go through, and in this one quiet room, in its entirety, it's incredible from the visual perspective and things like coming at you, and not being grotesque about it. The visuals are grotesque, but grotesque in that as things popping out at you all the time. Like they're actually, if anything with horror, I think it's all about the subtlety. Like when you don't see things, like that's what's scary.
Until Dawn.
Yeah, that's again. I kind of thought of you with it as well. So. You go into this dark room. You could barely see anything. Your move controller is a flashlight, and you just hear far on the left side like hello, and you put your flashlight over there. It's just somebody like ghoul girl kind of looking at you behind a potion. She disappears, and then like hello, and she shows up over there, and then she like hello, looks over on the right side, and then all of a sudden it's just like hello. It's just like right beside your head, and you look to the side and like bam, bam, like they're just right in front of you. And it's just, you almost like I should have expected it. Again, that's an absolute trope, like looking around and then like the camera just doesn't show the left side of the screen. And as soon as they do, they're just right there.
Yeah.
Except instead of being a flat screen that you're trying to imagine yourself into, you're just actually in this like 3D space. And you could have I could have not looked there either. Right? Like I could have heard it on the left side, but just totally look to the right and be like, nope, you don't exist. I'm not going to engage. So
wow.
Yeah, it's an unexpected. Going into it, I had, and it's who knows where it goes. I don't know that anything's cemented. But going into it, I thought there was going to be a lot of incredible 3D style experiences, much like I tried with the Valkarie, where I'm just in a ship and I'm flying around and I get to look around and it's fantastic. The places they took it with the sound design, the true immersion of you being in some of these spots is astounding. Like it's remarkable what they've been able to pull off. And especially with horror, it just feels like horror now, it's so well understood. Movie wise, they know exactly how to do it, right? How to make it scary, how to make it real. Sound design is just incredible. With horror games, I think they've really, well, I don't know that. I'm trying to think, like, are they going through a resurgence? I'm trying to think with horror games. I think they had a small resurgence.
They're getting back. to their roots. Like I think Resident Evil sort of made horror more actiony for a bit. But with games like Alien Isolation and Outlast, Until Dawn, there are some experiences out there now that are a little bit more. I think the idea of they're making horror games where you feel vulnerable, and I think that's the key. Is like with horror games, that sense of like a prime example is Dead Space. First Dead Space, yes, you had
Great.
means to defend yourself, but it was always just on the cusp of being not enough. So you always felt in danger and in peril. By Dead Space 3, you were Iron Man.
Poor.
Yeah.
I remember hating Dead Space 3. Dead Space 1 was like the cream of the crop. It was perfect.
And Dead Space 2 actually was.
It was okay.
Decent. I enjoyed it. But you could start to feel that sense of like, okay, like, and it's a weird balancing act. Like I think it happens with games sometimes. Is that sense of like, do you want them to feel vulnerable or do you want them to feel powerful? And it's a really hard one to balance. Far Cry series is another example of that balancing act. You know, further along in the series they get, the more powerful we seem to be getting as players, which is affecting for me the experience. But yeah, I think with the horror game aspect is that you see things like Alien Isolation and Outlast, which are very similar in gameplay style. It's a lot of hiding, a lot of evasion. I think that along with the VR, like peaking with a VR headset and like that sort of like hesitant observation, that hesitant look, that is something I think that's very intuitive. So I think that plays really well with that means of interacting with something. So I think, like as you said, like it's that sound behind you, that sound next to you. Do you look at it or do you look away? And the fact that you don't have a cinematographer deciding whether or not you get to look away. Instead, it's you, like, or your neck muscles are the cinematographer. And do you have the courage to trigger them in the direction to progress the story, or are you going to cower until the thing kills you? So those moments like that where I'm intrigued, like I find that's one of the few things that sort of pull me. But does it pull me enough to invest, or is it one of those things where I treat it more like a carnival ride that I'll experience a couple times a year, but do I need it at home kind of thing? Like, is it something that's going to take over my daily gaming, or do I still prefer to just sort of enjoy my gaming through the screen? Like, for example, last week I played the demo for Outlast 2, and there was a jump scare that almost made me, shout verbally loud enough to probably wake my family. Luckily, I choked the scream down. But like I had a very visceral experience, and I had that visceral experience looking at a TV, and I didn't feel like, oh man, if I had been able to actually control my POV, it would have been different. It's like I didn't feel any sort of hold that. That said, maybe once I start to poke my head down this rabbit hole, maybe then I'll look at that differently. But like right now, I just don't feel the lack. Like I don't feel like there's a deficit in my current experience that needs to get filled with the other. That said, like I'm really excited for it. I'm excited to see how it develops. Like I don't think it's. I'm not going to start saying. I'm not going to get on a soapbox and claim it to be snake oil. Like I think it's a very valid direction for the games industry to go. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to replace the current sort of status quo, but I think it could be it could be one of the few times that we're going to see an alternative branch to the game industry, and a very sturdy branch at that. That's not going to be a fad or a flash in the pan, but instead going to be a secondary direction that game designers can explore, that game enthusiasts can explore. That it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like I think we might be seeing this sort of like, oh, there can be both. Like it's the same with like the film industry. There was classic Hollywood for a long time, and then we started to see kind of more offshoot indie, and we started to see that with games as well. And then now we're starting to see like 3D films or like cinema blockbuster experience versus something a little bit more art house. And it's like, as an industry gets older, it starts to grow more branches, and some branches do okay, some branches wither and die. And I think VR might be one of those branches that's going to stick with us and stick with us quite strong.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be some growing pains. I think there's going to be a lot of people just it's like, hey, and you're also now in this space, and there's not like a lot of advantage to it.
Oh, there's going to be so much shovelware. There's going to be it's like when the Wii came out, it was just it was like a ball pit where like there were a few decent balls in the ball pit, but like
that's what they need though. They need to do that to push VR, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what's good though with the disc that they included, now the VR worlds from them, like it just sets such a high bar for what's to be expected for even with their VR Playroom. Like it's again just setting the table, and for them each one they include a demo disc too, like which is just hand-picked experiences. So and this is, I think it's about like it's like 16 games, like it's a bunch of things for you to poke around and just play and try, and all of them each have something really unique, and it's a really interesting, awesome thing to try. And I think it kind of, in many ways, because that's the beginning of it, I think it level sets in some way too, like even with shovelware at the Wii, when you had when you compared stuff to like instead of Wii bowling and Wii tennis, like those things were so fundamentally fantastic and fun. Like Wii bowling, I still see people like posting like records on it. They're still playing it.
We still have a Wii. Like honestly, we have a Wii kicking around. We're not going to garage sale it or get rid of it anytime soon, because we like to have the option. It's like the Jenga set that you have kicking around. We have family over. You're like, hey, let's put this on.
Yeah, and I just wonder if and I think there's a good part of me that feels like that's why they chose the partners that they did, and they also put together these packages like to take that Wii approach. Like if you would do nothing else with it except those discs, it's like that. This is everybody. This is the level.
Yeah, they found the system.
You must be this good.
Like the Wii had a great system seller combination. They had fantastic hardware and bundled software that makes the hardware immediately enjoyable.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that we're seeing with the PlayStation VR. We're seeing really, really solid hardware bundled with quality software that people are really going to dig. And it's going to let them have a great first impression of the hardware. And because of that, they're going to be willing to take more risks on the additional software to come out. Some of it's going to be great, some of it maybe not so much. But the fact that they did that 1-2 punch that Nintendo did, I think was a very, very wise idea. And I've heard nothing but good things about the stuff coming alongside with the demo disc that comes with PlayStation VR, that they really cherry-picked a great roster of experiences and a very diversified selection of experiences.
And I think with sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, I was done. That's all right.
No, I think so. I saw you nodding before when I mentioned keep talking and nobody dies.
Yes.
I think one of the other kind of exciting parts about this is it's also with a genre like horror that's really honed and it's kind of having a bit of a resurgence. Like people kind of know what to do, and then now they're given this tool to build games with it. Like that's damn exciting. But additionally, with this, the rising accolades of indies game like Don't Talk and No One Dies. For anybody who doesn't know, like if the player in the VR world is looking at a bomb, it's randomized to have certain things. The other players are looking on a manual on screen, and one has to describe it to the other. Okay, it's got a red wire and a circle knob and this, and they have to go through the manual and figure out how to disarm it. But the fact that type of experience, it's almost like if you try to think about like Kinect failed for many reasons. But say the Kinect and Move and how they didn't particularly take off, and the approachability of those peripherals to indies. You'd have to almost think like that, non-existent. Like what indie would put together a game for a Kinect, as opposed to with this already. I can think of there's this one game like Bound, which looks like a really beautiful like platformer one. There is a Super Hypercube, Super Hypercube. Yeah, Super Hypercube, which would take phenomenal effect with this. There's obviously Don't Talk and Keep Talking, Nobody Dies. Like it's kind of within reach of developers.
Oh, easily. Like
So
when I do every so often I'll do like game jams, which is basically like a bunch of game devs hang out for a weekend, like 3 days or so, and everybody teams up and makes games. Number of like Oculus kits that I see kicking around at these jam sessions, like it's a very it's a very approachable piece of hardware, and I've seen probably at least a half dozen to a dozen different teams like just experiment with doing VR development. It's it's one of those things where like in a 3 day jam weekend, people are making games for these systems. So it's a hardware that is approachable. Where I've seen maybe two or three like Connect indie sort of like jam games or like kind of like thesis papers for game dev students. I've seen maybe like a couple of those tops, um, and that was even near the end of the Kinect's lifespan, where you were seeing like where it should have been its most approachable, where they should have had dev kits ready to go. Um, I think too, like with PlayStation Move and Connect versus like the VR stuff, there's a lot of competition out in the VR industry right now with the hardware resources, where like those other ones were very much like uniquely PlayStation and Sony. And to get the dev kits for them, like you have to sign a lot of disclaimers and stuff like that. Where the other ones, it's like, well, you just buy the dev kit and do it. So I think right now they're a little bit looser with the dev kits for VR because they know it's a more of a higher competition pool for development, so they want people to use their tech. So I think we're seeing it being a little bit more open source in that regard.
So yes, I think it seems to all come together for a great time. I think Oculus warmed up everything, but PlayStation coming out with what you'd consider like the first truly consumer friendly version of it. Like no drivers, no crazy thing. It's just a couple cables, of course, like I said, 10, 15 minutes, and it works really well. And they launched with some really great titles. And so one thing I did want to discuss Resident Evil. There was they call it Kitchen, I guess. It didn't work as well for me as the other one. There's parts of it that did, and I think it's the type of thing where I think this is where they could stumble, where there were parts where obviously, creepy lady with a knife, and she's literally just right up in your face, right, at one point. So she kills somebody else, and it goes around, and she's coming for you, and she's like holding a knife like right in your, basically in your eye. Like, so it's kind of nuts to see it like right in front of you, of course, and she's all gruesome. But at one point too, so and I think it was like a bit of a mistake on their part. She stabs you in the leg. Mm-hmm. Like you're tied up in behind the chair. There's another guy passed out. He gets up. He tries to help you. He struggles with her. She kills him. She comes at you now. At one point, she stabs you in the leg, and that took you out of it so much. It's like, well, that didn't hurt. So that's clearly not my leg. And then she's like menacing you with it. I'm like, well, your knife does nothing to me. So this isn't very menacing. But there's two parts that either on purpose or by accident were incredibly menacing. And one is when she first arrives, because you have your buddy in front of you. He's taking up your focus. So you're tied in a chair. He's knocked out. He wakes up. He comes over here. Let me help you. He has a knife. He's trying to cut you free. You're holding up your shackles, and you're you're obviously looking at him. That's the action. And in the corner of your eye, just super subtly and for no reason, all of a sudden, just like the monster demon lady like pops her head a little bit. I'm talking like totally in the corner. I'm talking you're in a room that's completely like very dimly lit. You can barely see in front of you, but you just kind of notice this like kind of shadow in the corner. And if you kind of stare at it, it starts to look like an outline of somebody. You're like, the hell is that? And all of a sudden, like it just starts to move like a little bit too fast and starts like coming towards them. And it's just that moment was like, oh, because that's playing with like natural senses around like, oh God. And like this, like I mentioned before, like the parts behind you are just absolutely terrifying. But the real terrifying part is that like behind you is a door. Sorry, like two walls that lead to a hallway. And that the space somehow is so greatly realized. Like you're definitely aware that there's a space behind these two places in this entranceway to the hallway. and you're just thinking like, what's behind that? Like there could just absolutely be something over there. And for a couple of the experiences, like you just hear, and they don't go anywhere, which is again, like this is just where you can tell they're starting to really hone the craft. But there's a couple sounds, like a couple crinkles, or clearly someone's walking, and it's just like, what's that? And that leads to nothing. Like it's not a pop-out event, like, blah, look, I'm gonna get you. And there's a few of those where just like there's these crinkles and there's these open spaces that are dark and not defined, and it's like, what could be in there, right? Where your imagination is doing all the work, which is, a tenet, I think, of great horror. And then, but again, so there's parts though where, like, so she's right in your face, she looks creepy, and she's got the knife, but like I was like smiling at it because it's just like, oh, look at you, silly demon lady, silly demon lady. There's a few parts where she, so in that part she wasn't particularly terrifying. At the end though, you just hear sounds. You can hear her scuttling, and you can't find her. And per the part, like we talked about, where it's just like, I don't know if I want to find you, but all right. So you hear on the left, you look over there, she's not there. Here on the right, and like, where the hell is it? And then like all of a sudden, just like her hands kind of like creep over your eyes a little bit. And then next thing you know, she like comes as if she comes on top, as if she's on you. And then like now when you're looking around, she's just right up in your face. And then at that point, like it goes off and it dies. But or you die, sorry. So, but I'm telling you, like the two parts where it succeeded was just that like corner of your eye shadows clearly defined as something, which is never seen that in a horror. I've seen it in horror movies, but never in a game. And then just these open spaces with the sound. It was just like, oh, creepy as hell. So cool. So Jeff, you're gonna buy one?
I totally would. It's just the price point. I would.
I know.
But they're going to have an issue selling them just because you do have to try it. Like once you try it, or any virtual reality machine, Oculus or Vive or whatever, it is a totally different, unsellable experience, in my opinion. Like you
played Eve Valkarie, didn't you?
Eve Valkarie and the Deep Down, or the shark one, which was cool. It was awesome. It was a great, just totally different experience that I couldn't, like. Eve Valkarie was just awesome, getting into the starship, like I talked before, and you could see the turret and the proportion of that to you, and then look down and you see the armor and dodging missiles, and you're actually like looking by and watching the missile float by your ship and blast off, and the carriers that warp in. Like, amazing experience. I totally want one. The problem is that my kids are running around. And I think Sony is going to have a huge problem with, like, they can't get the 12 and under piece of the pie because they're not supposed to be using it. So that's
I'd be worried. Even if they said it's kind of okay, I'd be pretty. Yeah. Geez, I don't know what. I'm trying to think how old I'd be comfortable with a kid using it. And even for like a 14-year-old.
I don't know.
I don't. I'm
like
sure
3DS, right? 3DS is probably somewhat the same, not the same experience, obviously, but it's using your eyes in a different manner than what they're supposed to be focusing on. Yeah, so I can see that similar, but I wouldn't put them in like the kitchen demo or something. Like if they experience the playful robots, that's fine.
I want them to do the dishes again.
What you should do is put your 10-year-old to sleep. You sneak in, you put the VR system on when they wake up.
It's just a creepy lady floating around.
But I don't know, man. I totally am down to get one. It's just, I want to see what else comes, because I can see all the experiences, and like put a lightsaber in my hand and do a full Star Wars game. That would be amazing. Like make me Solid Snake. I don't know.
God, with a move controller, that would be in the games where like, what's that? The price
is to make it happen. Just like, that's it. I just need it. Star Wars me.
Just do it.
I heard one of the there's supposed to be some sort of VR version of Battlefield coming out, or Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah, you're in a X-wing or whatever, and you do I think it's like an hour or two demo. It's kind of like a Batman Arkham experience.
Oh.
But you get it free if you bought Battlefront. So you just download it and go for it.
Man, I bought it for PC and I still hate it. So But I think, man, but if with the Move controllers, and again, they do the great stuff in putting those peripherals into your actual sight, so you can like see and hold it, and it moves properly. Man, they had better be working on one where that becomes a lightsaber, because if they're not, that's
right.
How is that? I don't know how that's not a launch game, man. That seems like a wasted opportunity.
Or even boxing, like you said, like we came out with all the sports games, right? You just do a boxing where you're actually blocking your view.
God, you can man. I love boxing games.
Like EA should have the knockout, the fight night, or whatever they have.
God, man, that would be
drop money. Come on,
make it happen.
Seriously.
Geez, let me gush about one more. And this is probably about the last game because I've probably gone through them all. But the DriveClub was done really effectively, the racing game, because it does well in. So you're able to go around the car entirely. You're able to hop into various parts of the car and like look around. So you're absolutely inside of the car, which is an incredible experience. But if you've ever gone go-karting, it's not like a great sense of nervousness, but you kind of get that like a little bit of adrenaline when you're about to take off on the go-kart, like because you're actually on the track.
Right.
And this definitely achieved that sense. Like, so I was sitting in the car for the first time, and you're in the cockpit. You're absolutely definitely in this thing. And you see your hands on the steering wheel, and you look to your left and like rear view mirrors, and you're just ready to go. And it's so cool to be inside of the car driving. And again, that's just one of those things where your instincts take over. So you're like looking in the rearview mirrors to see if anybody's coming up. Like you're looking on your left or the right. You're tracking turns in other cars. Like that's another great experience for it with driving around. Like and just like where I was able to invoke that emotion too. Or just like you had that like I said, that kind of adrenaline rush when you had the start line. Like, oh, I'm gonna go. It's gonna happen. Let's go.
But any motion sickness though, like with any of those games? Because I heard that was some concern to some people, but they kind of reckon it as like you have to get used to it. So your body's not used to certain games where there's no stationary point. So if you're moving along with the course, people were saying that just triggers some sort of puke mechanism to.
I got it, and it was amazing when I did. It was with Valkarie.
Okay.
And I guess I'd never done it in the demo. I had no motion sickness. When I was playing the actual game, I think there was a moment of quiet, and I just started to do corkscrews. And all of a sudden, I'm just like, "Whoa, okay,
self-inflicted, yeah,
maybe less corkscrews." and that's actually it's the only time that it happens. But I'm trying to think of it. If I was actually flying in a plane, and I'm just like spinning myself constantly, I'd like to think I'd probably get a little bit dizzy.
I hope so. Yeah.
So fortunately, no motion sickness for any of it.
Well,
I hear the other big one is when people are walking, like when you're trying to like walk around. It happened a little bit with the VR Playroom that I mentioned, where it's a little guy on the platformer. For the first little bit, as I was getting kind of used to it, I definitely felt it wasn't definitely not sickness, nowhere close to being sick, but a little bit of like, whoa, okay, you're just not really being quite used to it,
right?
So, but eventually I was able to like got into it or just adjusted how I responded to it, so it was fine. Even the corkscrew thing got better.
They seem to have addressed it with a vignette. I was reading up on it. So if you look at the edges of your screen, they're darkened. Mm-hmm. So it kind of likens to the same sense of your peripheral. So you're not totally seeing all these details move by and puking your guts out because you have some sort of weird vertigo that happens.
Oh, no. That's why that's there. Okay. No, that's interesting.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, nothing thus far, but one of my favorite lines is that somebody called them like someone on a podcast had referred to them as privilege goggles.
Well,
yeah, and it's hard. Yeah, that price point is just that's hard, man. Like I was fortunate enough to be able to kind of swing it, and I've been planning for this one for a while, but yeah, like I don't think I'm just not sure how many folks would be able to just so easily go and grab it. Like that's a big bit of gaming budget, and especially at this point too, because I think the wait and see approach, I have hopes that it sold pretty well, and that will just continue to rise. I wouldn't be too surprised if it was a solid start, right? Like they sold out, not sold out. They sold very well. It's not like through the roof iPhone level type of stuff, but like it's like, no, this is a great start. And now they just need to prove themselves and get those absolute killer nonstop. Like this is, you have to now get this. I mean, Gavin, like you're both of you, like the way you're describing it, in that you're kind of on board, but you want to wait until it proves itself to be something just so worthy of so much of a budget. Unless they're able to come down in price, but I can't imagine how.
Mine's also the time. Like it's cool and all, but like what games I currently have on the go, what style of gaming I currently enjoy, that more than satisfies the time I have for gaming. So like, even if the price point was somewhere, it's an investment of trying to carve out those moments in a week to be able to sit and enjoy without having to make sure I got an ear open. Because a lot of my gaming right now too is gaming when the little one's sleeping, and I can't fully immerse myself in something because like it's me. It's like my wife might be at work, or she might have to be running errands or something, so it's just me and the little one, and she's having her nap, so that's when I can sit and enjoy a game. So I can't even really game with headphones on, let alone a full immersion. Like I need to be able to keep an eye and ear on the baby monitor and watch for those little lights to spike in case she needs me to come in and soothe her.
You and your responsibilities.
I know. But that's the thing, is like right now, like I don't have those moments of being like, okay, I can clock out and just like, I'll see you in half an hour, tap me on the shoulder, and I'll try not to act too startled. So yeah, it's like I think I would enjoy it. I really do. But it's like I look at it like another hobby rather than like just augmenting my gaming experience. Like I look at it as a new hobby entirely. A type of hobby that's just, for its current price point and for the amount of time I would want to spend with it to make it feel like I'm getting my investment's worth. I don't know if it really is calling to me quite yet. But that's a very unique, like, me perspective as well. Like, it's not even just a dad perspective. It's I have a tendency to take on too many projects. So it's not just my responsibilities as a father, that it's just the time I have. Like I've been, maybe when a few months when things calm down, if I don't do my usual thing and just re-up with more work, if I can find some time for myself, then maybe I might look into it, because it does look interesting. Like I don't want to be one of those non-VR people who just sort of like, buoys it. It's like, no, it's cool, it's neat, it's exciting. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm happy to see people investing in it and enjoying their investment. I'd hate for Trevor to be like, hey guys, I got one, and then the next day being like, hey, anybody want to?
Oh, man, real honest truth, I have a problem. Is I have a real kiss of death for technology. Anything I tend to get like really excited about seems to die. So, which I don't know, it's just because of like what I get excited about in tech. I'm the owner of a playbook, a BlackBerry playbook.
No.
that I paid. Yeah, I paid full price for that.
Whoa.
BlackBerry playbook. I've owned multiple Windows phones. Windows Phone is my favorite phone system. Me and the other 6 people who own such things.
Please tell me you had a Zoom.
I wanted a Zune. I thought they looked really nice.
Oh my god,
they're really cool. Yeah, so I don't have a sterling track record of picking technology, and I almost worry that I'm the kiss of death in some ways. Or just like, if it appeals to me, that means that it's woefully out of whack with most normal people.
You totally have a curse. You should just give that unit to me, and we'll be.
I think with so I was able to get. I had a smaller session with the 2 things. Like I was surprised that I was able to have a really long session the previous night. I was worried about like longevity, like how long would you actually want to sit with this thing, and actually I had a really long, in-depth one the previous night, and I was excited about. I had one moment where baby was sleeping, I'd kind of caught up on some host things. So I was like, all right, I got like 20 minutes.
Nice.
The monitor we use tends to be pretty loud anyways. So I just had like the volume adjusted as such that if the monitor went, and it actually did, like he stirred, didn't wake up, but he stirred, I was able to hear him just kind of de-immersed for a second.
Yeah.
Jumped out of it, like made sure.
Roll to know, like, okay, pause, pull myself out of the matrix, make sure the coast is clear.
Just turn the volume down.
He looks fine. We turned on this baby monitor. I got demons to slay.
I'm doing virtual baby. Just
yeah, virtual. It's like, Dad, why do you keep going to this virtual family? I feel like you like it more than us. my virtual son wouldn't say such nonsense. My virtual son doesn't question me like this. God. Yeah, and I think this is. I think if you're getting into it now, it's early adopter. They might come out with better tech. There's the new PlayStation that's coming out that I think renders it even better. They might do a second version that costs less, or it's better, like double resolution something. And the jury's out whether or not the games will be there. But I guess to summarize it is that it's stunning, and it was much better than I was even expecting. And it's been a ton of fun. I'm really going to be excited to share it with people and have them over. There's a bunch of games you can kind of play with multiple folks, but just also to put some unsuspecting people through the shark trials and everything else. So, so thus far, like it's exciting, man. I'm more than anything too, I'm happy with the current roster of games I have for it, but I'm really excited to see what's next. Like I'm hoping there's going to be some big, cool, massive games that they release for this, because it's damn. Because what a I'm trying. I think the line I said to my wife was like, I'm trying to imagine going back to 14-year-old me and explaining the world I now live in, where I just went to a local game store and purchased this new reality in a box. It came in a strap to my face, and like just the stuff that you can do, like it's, man. There's one. If nothing else, like you should check out a screenshot or a video of the online multiplayer for Valkarie. An unsettling scene is that as you're one of the overarching themes is that in fact you're dead. You're just a memory inside of this like big computer complex, and then they just put you into clones or like computer bodies to fly your ship. But one of the unsettling scenes is that you're choosing your ship and all like your loadout for the particular match coming up, and you look to the left and the right, and there's just these other pods with similar looking pilots, and they're all just kind of like looking around with like the headsets on.
That's pretty
and
cool.
That's pretty I think, and I'm wondering if it's actually connected to, like, I tried to like shake my head to see if like somebody would like respond in kind.
Yeah,
I couldn't, but it didn't seem like anyone has really noticed. So it's either like, but just there's just this moment where it's just like, okay, I know that's what we actually are doing, but you don't have to like you don't have to like rush this into the future. Like that's kind of sad that this reality is you being a virtual reality pilot.
Right. I just watched Ender's Game, so.
Yep.
Oh jeez. That's too perfect. So that's the future we're heading towards. But yeah, so I guess as no, and I guess last thing I'll say is just I think a lot of the games and experiences tend to favor smaller play times, which as dads,
that's good.
That's kind of like what we're looking.
Yeah.
Because of it being a very immersive experience, like it's not like you can't get that time, but it's just something you usually have to negotiate with someone else, kind of being like, you know what, you keep your ear to the ground. I'm gonna duck out of reality for a moment. Yeah. But if it's only for like a 20 to 30 minute session, I guess too with the technology, you don't want your eyes to fall into your skull. So, the whole thing sort of like makes you want to indulge sparingly, and be very economical with your time in VR. So I think with that, it's a little bit more conducive than like one would initially think, because it's like, well, to completely shut myself off from the world for that much time is just not possible. But it's like, no, it's like 20 minutes. Don't worry. It's like, it's no longer than like going and having a shower, and you're just as detached from being able to handle anything in the world when you're in the shower. Like, indisposed is indisposed. It doesn't matter if it's with a VR headset or, you know, shampoo.
Yeah, it's a 30 minutes like really immersive, incredible experience. And like I said yesterday, I was able to do a longer playthrough, but there's definitely so many experiences that are very conducive to quick times.
Nice.
So I think, yeah, on the whole, it's incredible. I think that they did a phenomenal job. The game lists are a lot of fun. It's easy to set up, a lot of fun to get into, incredibly immersive, and you can just really see potential. And like, man, damn if I'm not. I hope they pull it off. I hope this goes someplace because, man, the potential you see with this thing is just so exciting. This current reality sucks. I joke, but yeah, man, it's good on them. Fantastic. So happy.
Nice.
Now, did you gentlemen have? I should have checked before the show. Did you have a beer pick for the week?
I did.
Kind of just like throwing it out your last minute. Okay, I just want to lead us off.
Yeah, it's another one from Sawdust City Brewing Company. It's Old Woody Alt.
Old Woody Oat?
Alt, like ALT.
Alt. Go on.
There we are.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
Let's see. So my eyes aren't failing me. No, it's nice. They say it's their take on a German amber. I'd say yeah, it's pretty close. Except it's got a bit of that typical microbrew kind of bitterness at the end that sort of hangs out a little bit longer than you want to. But still enjoyable. My case of beer that I have on the go right now is Lot 9 Pilsner by Creemore, and
Very
that
good beer.
one's actually really nice. It's I think I might have mentioned it before, but yeah, it's smooth, a clean finish, just all around just a good, easy drinking beer. Like this is more of like you enjoy one, and then you're good. But then there's other ones where it's like that was refreshing. I'm gonna crack another. This doesn't really fall into that category. So if you're just looking for a nice flavorful pint and then call it a day, this is definitely good. But if you're looking for something to enjoy over a long weekend, maybe, you know, back-to-back beers if you're really spoiling yourself, then this one might start to build up on the palate a little bit. So unless you have like lots of food to cleanse, I'd say, you know, one and done.
Yes.
Then Jeff, you got one?
My beer pick of the week, Big Mouth by Hop City. Big Mouth Tap Room. I cracked this thing ice cold and it woke me up like crazy. Like there is so much orange in here. Like there's just so much citrus at once.
Of all people, for this to happen to.
It's like pale ale Big Mouth. I'm like, oh, it might be kind of a hoppy taste to it, but whoa, orange. So
Orange, you glad it's not banana?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
it happened.
We were on a streak with no dad jokes, but they came back.
Yes. Oh.
He should tell his VR family that joke. They'd laugh.
Oh man, the VR dad experience. We get to go up and the crowd will laugh no matter what joke you say.
Yeah, that's right. You need that. Yeah. So this one, not the greatest for me. I'm sure somebody that likes orange in their beer would love it, but there's a lot in here. Big Mouth for big oranges. Meh. No, not for me. It won some awards in Belgium.
Most of Jeff's reviews with like, keep your not beer out of my beer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you'll notice a fruity taste of Jeff's like let me stop you there.
Well,
let's back that up a little bit.
Nope.
How close in proximity has this beer been to a fruit tree? And if it's anything greater than 100 kilometers,
yeah, don't give it to me. Don't open it.
Yeah, should preface that the joke I said was because Jeff did not like a banana beer that I'm fond of. and aren't you glad it's not banana?
My God.
I'm gonna
Comes
go
so
to
natural.
bed with a smile on my face tonight. So I'm gonna cheat a bit. I'm actually going back to one I had previously, but I took a family trip to Niagara this weekend. So we went to Niagara on the Lake first, and we went around to a bunch of stopped off at an orchard. We went to pick up something, which if you want some death stares, bring your kid to a winery. Because just like, as far as like there's like, look at this irresponsible parent bringing your kid along to a winery. How dare you? You wino, get out of here. So anyways, and yeah, then he doesn't have the patience for a wine tour. So no. So we just visited a couple quick places, but Niagara on the lake is home to what was my surprise win of the Oast House.
Oh.
So the beer, is the Barn Raiser by Oast House, a brewery located in Niagara. Now they currently not in the LCBO or anything, and I'd only found it on tap at a couple restaurants, going back a few times specifically for it. I'll say that over time that I've had it a few more times, I've found that the hops have become more pronounced than when I first had it, which is either just a remnant of the food pairing I had it with at the time, but just the same, like it's a great brewery. Like I bought this other one that I'll review at a different date. I'm curious to see what their other type of stuff is. The other one I was a dark one. I'll try that at a different date. But yeah, if you can ever find it, especially on tap at a place, the Barn Raiser by Oast House. Delicious. Just a bunch of flavor, nothing too crazy as far as like oranges or what have you. But and one of the greater hop profiles I've ever had. I'm not a guy who likes hoppy stuff, but this is delicious. So
good. Pick one up.
Yep.
My VR world.
Yeah, VR. You can have any beer you like without the taste. Taste is coming soon. Did you guys see the smell-o-vision that the creators of South Park released at a PAX event?
No, but I can only imagine what they released with that.
I thought it was going to be just an Onion article, but then I saw videos of people actually putting this thing on, and it's literally like smell or reality. So I think like they just pipe sense in based on what you're seeing in the game.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Now paired with VR.
Yeah. Next step. There you go.
As well as like a module that goes into your mouth for taste, and like you're all about it. Just imagine those horror games.
Yeah, those swamps and the moths.
Yeah.
The fireflies.
I'm just thinking like bleeding ladies and the things decaying and like, yeah.
Puke.
But beautiful future, folks. We're on our way. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. This has been New Dad Gaming. You can find us online at newdadgaming.com. You can reach out to us with show notes, ideas, questions, or anything else. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and any other podcasting service. Rate, subscribe, and share it around to friends and family for anybody that likes it, and ideally new dads who enjoy video games. Thank you, and until next week, I am Trevor. I am living in the future of virtual reality, and I have a 1-year-old. That's not in order of priority or importance.
My name is Gavin, and I have a 1-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a real 6-year-old and a real 3-year-old.
I don't know. You might be in virtual reality.
Tamagotchi.
Yeah. Oh, Tamagotchi VR. That's got to be in production too. Man, that'd be a killer game actually. Like a virtual pet, except now you have like move controllers, so you can like
pet it and love it. We can love it in reality.
Look, Gavin, I enjoy elephants as much as the next man, but I can't afford to keep one in my house. Let me tell you about a reality where I can keep it. It's virtual. And see, don't bring me down, Gavin. Don't bring me down.
No.
There's no limits in my virtual reality, damn it. You don't have to listen to your rules.
You'll just get a pug.
Virtual reality pug, you see? So much better than the current live one. All right, folks. Bye, everybody. See you next week.
See you.
Bye.